Hey Devi, Ati Mahimayute Shri Shambhavi Sada Rautravadana Yuta Murte Swiguru Mam Tava Nisima Karuna Katakshe.
If you transform mud into food, we call this agriculture. If you make food into flesh and bone, we call this digestion, integration. If you can make this flesh, or even a stone, or even an empty space, into a divine possibility, that is called consecration. If you want to know this dimension, you need devotion in your heart. One who earns the grace of Bhairavi neither have to live in concern or fear of life or death, of poverty or failure. All that human being considers as well-being will be his if only he earns the grace of Bhairavi.
How does he have that power of making a stone into a deity? But it happened in front of my eyes.
When it finally came together, it was just enormous.
We saw him transforming himself into an ardent devotee.
It suddenly has a new meaning.
A gift package from heaven.
Mysticism and snakes cannot be separated. Whatever part of the world whatever the culture, whatever religious backgrounds, where there's an exploration or experience of mysticism, there will be snakes in abundance, either symbolically or in reality. Whether it's the ancient cultures of Mesopotamia, Crete, Egypt, Cambodia, Vietnam, and of course we don't have to mention India, because there is no Indian temple without a snake. So one aspect of it is symbolism, because the yoga uses the snake, a coiled up snake, as Kundalini. But the reason why it has earned that symbolic status is the beings who are of celestial nature, beings who are in consciousness and capability superior to what is human nature, have always chosen to take the form of snake whenever they are here in this dimension of existence. This is an experience you can trace back into every mythology on the planet. In India, there are innumerable stories, starting from Shiva being a Nagabhushana, to all the goddesses anywhere in the world, the Middle Eastern ones, the North African ones, the Mesopotamian ones, and the Asian ones, Southeast Asian ones, Central European ones. You will see goddesses and snakes are always symbolized together. Because snake is even these creatures who are here on this planet, they have a certain sense of perception which even humans lack. Those of you, I do not know if there's anybody here who witnessed the Dhyanalinga consecration. When we were consecrating the Vishuddhi Chakra, there were over 400 and odd people. There were no arrangements like this, people just crowded around, huddled, fully packed with people all around. But this one snake somehow would creep through the crowd and come to us. Any number of times we pick it up and leave it out in the forest, but within half an hour he's again back there, he wants to be there. He doesn't want to miss the consecration. Because if one becomes very meditative, the first creature which is drawn towards meditativeness is snake. This is the reason why you always see sages and seers, if there are images, snakes are around, anthills have grown around them. This is just to indicate that to honor this creature, because it has such a sense of perception that it is able to perceive certain dimensions which human beings are longing to know. Human beings are desperate to know, but this creature which has no ears, a snake is stone deaf. So he uses his whole body as the ear. He puts his ear to the ground, truly because his whole body is in touch with the ground and he's really got an ear to the ground, and any fundamental change, even in a slightest manner that happens in this planet, a snake will know. If there is going to be, not yet, if there is going to be an earthquake in California, you ask a snake in the Velangiri mountains, he will tell you at least 30 to 40 days ahead of time that there is going to be an earthquake in California. I'm not joking about this. Because their sense of perception is such, any smallest moment in the planet, snake is the first creature which knows, because its sense of perception with regarding to the planet is so very keen and so very sharp. So, because of this perception, always the mythology, in India there's plenty, all over the world there is. You've always heard of Nagalokas existing beneath the underground, the nether world is the Nagaloka, where there's a whole host of… there's a whole society down there, not just of snakes, human beings who belong to the snake clan, who are known as the Nagas, who played a very, very important role in shaping the consciousness of this nation and literally every other culture, actually. Today we know, historically, we know that the great temples of Angkor, Angkor Thom and Angkor Wat of Cambodia, were built by the Naga descendants. These Nagas went from India and they interbred with the indigenous people there and established a kingdom. And later on, when certain Kaundinya, who was a Brahmin king from India, went and conquered or defeated the Naga queen, because Nagas were always matriarchal families, they were ruled by queens and not by kings. And human beings who are very deeply associated with snakes exist even today. I'm one of them, not a Naga, but my life and snakes cannot be separated. Every significant event in my life is always punctuated by the presence of a snake. After the Dhyanalinga consecration, when my body was in shambles, my system was broken and, I was going through various upheavals in the system, where the medical doctors said there is no hope, you have all kinds of bizarre things going in your body, your systems will fail. In United States, they said you are a blue light emergency, you should never get onto an airplane, you're a danger. So, I think those of you who read the Mystics' Musings must be aware of it, some mention of that is there. These mystical snake forms are not imagined, they are a reality in another dimension. Those beings who wish to enter this dimension of existence have always chosen snake as a form because of various advantages that snake has. Probably he knows more about me than I know about him. I know a lot about him, but he knows more about me than I know about him. That's how he is. Mysticism and snakes cannot be separated because it's a certain dimension of perception, and this creature has come endowed with that capability. That is why the highest form of perception, which is the opening of the third eye in the Shiva's forehead, is punctuated by the presence of the snake. In the sense, the raised hood cobra, you must understand this is a reptile, it must be crawling on the ground. Having Shiva, having it at his feet is okay, but he's got it over his head to indicate that it is even above him. The indication is, in some ways, he is even better than me. That's what he is also saying. So it is the rising of his energies to the peak which has opened up his third eye. Perception and refinement of energy are very, very directly connected. If there is no refinement of energy, there is no perception, there's no way to perceive when energy is so gross. So all practices, all yoga, all sadhana, every kind of spiritual practice and process on the planet is essentially to refine your energies. The temple is just a huge refinement of energies. It's not something different. It is just very intense and refined form of energy is what you're referring to as a goddess. Every woman has the same thing, every man also has the same thing, but it is not in such level of intensity and refinement. So right now Bhairavi is in a extremely intense state and a refined state. That's what makes her the goddess above everyone. That's what… though we create her, we bow down to her because she's refined and manages to stay that way, because we have to go through various aspects of life. Some moments we are like that, some moments we are some other way. But she is like that all the time because she has the advantage of, not having dinner breaks and bathroom breaks and all these hassles. And that's the advantage of being a god or a goddess. So, in this temple, we will grow snakes. When I say we'll grow snakes, now that she has tasted this, she may want to come back every day, I don't know. See, right now if I leave her, she'll not go this way, she'll go this way. I won't do that now because others also may go this way. Other ladies may run this way, so just to avoid that This process, when I say we grow snakes, you see snake symbolism in many places, but these two snakes entwined. One aspect of this is, we've been doing the churning process, the hands going. This churning is essentially, every subatomic particle is in this moment of counter movement, clockwise and anti-clockwise. The most basic building material of matter in the existence is always going this way. I did not know this till about 4 months ago, when I was invited by a physicist, a professor in the Oxford University who teaches physics, fundamental physics there, and they wanted to see how they can link mysticism and physics, so we sat down for a discussion and this went on and on for about 8 hours non-stop, and even the physicist forgot to go to the bathroom. See, when somebody forgets to go to the bathroom, that means unknowingly they're stepping into a different dimension. Unknowingly. Knowingly if they do it, it would be great, but unknowingly they're moving into a space where physical is not ruling them anymore. When they forget to eat, when they forget to go to the bathroom, when they forget to sleep, that means the control of the physical over their lives is coming down, even without making a conscious effort towards it. And when he asked me, okay, what is the fundamental nature of your perception of your body? I said, the fundamental nature of my body is just this, I did this. He said, what is that? I said, that's the fundamental nature of my body. Don't ask me what's the fundamental nature of me, I can't gesticulate about that. But if you ask me about the fundamental nature of my body, the fundamental nature of my body is this. He said, do you know that is the basic particle in the existence? I said, I don't know, but that's the basic particle in me, because I have not traveled the existence, but I've explored me. Then I said, okay, if that is so, another dimension of me is, I made him hold his hand about 8 inches above my head, and I closed my eyes and sat, and I said, just feel it for some time and see how this is. If you feel this, you will see the movement will not be like this, it will be like this. He said, what is that? I said, that is the last step. That's the last step of physicality. If you go over that, the physical will be finished. He said, do you know this is a sign of infinity? I said, I didn't even know that because I generally did not go to the math classes when I was growing up. I could count my fingers, I thought that was good enough. So, this is happening in the body all the time. This is happening in your system, this is happening in every subatomic particle, this is happening in the whole cosmos, this moment of counterclockwise movement. It is this which is holding the existence together. The fundamental building particle of the physicality is held together only because it is moving both clockwise and anti-clockwise. If it was moving one way, it would spin out of control. Because it is moving both ways, the energy that is created around it is holding everything together. Today, there's a huge… in the scientific circles, there is so many aspects that are being spoken. One thing that they are not able to figure is the nature of gravity. Time and space, they are not figured, but at least they're on the right track to a large extent. I know this sounds arrogant, as if I have to approve the scientific research, but I feel they'll agree with me in about 100 years' time. So, this gravity, which is actually the basis of existence, is generated in these two moments, this clockwise and anti-clockwise movement. And this essential moment of the existence and the snake are very, very directly connected. So its perception, probably, if you want to know all the secrets of gravity, you have to just talk to him. If you learn to listen to what he's got to say, he knows why it's all together. That's why Shiva said, okay, you stay above me, you are smart, okay? You're too smart. Though you're a crawling creature, you're too smart, so you stay above me. Every culture has recognized this one way or the other. Even the Christian theology says it is snake which initiated life on this planet. Somebody who initiates life on this planet has to be the agent of the divine, isn't it? Because somebody could not even accept the simple biological processes of life, they called him the agent of the devil. But without him, according to their story, you wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be here today, isn't it? So any number of things are there. I can tell you 1,000 different stories about snakes and the role that they have played in our culture. The great ones who are known almost to everybody, and probably the many people here who are named after them, like Vasuki and maybe Taksila, and there are any number of them. Maybe these days nobody is naming anybody as Karkotaka, but but there used to be Karkotakas, many people by those names. So, today we are trying to initiate the snake into the temple by doing a Sarpa Seva, and this Sarpa Seva will be available to people once a month on every full moon day. The Sarpa Seva will be available to people to come and do it. These two snakes, which are in a certain… it's not an entanglement, you can see the arrangement, it's a conscious embrace of the two. There is a difference between embrace and entanglement. An embrace is happening out of involvement. Entanglement happens out of compulsive needs. So, they're in a certain embrace and a certain dance. To bring this forth into everyone's life, these snakes will be filled with the turmeric… with the termite mound earth, the earth taken from the termite mound mixed with certain other substances, and these snakes will be filled once a month. This is an opportunity that people have to do this. This is a way of bringing a snake into the temple, and this aspect of snake and making use of the snake to enhance one's perception, either in the form of Kundalini or the outer snake. We will set up a whole new culture here in the next few years through the Bhairavi temple. So, as a small representative, we have this one here. See, now he doesn't want to go. But for your sake, I will send him now, because now if I have to do this work, I have to put him down and… Are you okay? If you're okay, I'll leave him here. Nobody should get up, scream, run, nothing. It has taken over 10.5 months to essentially prepare this rasadanda. This is a copper tube with liquid mercury inside, not solidified, it's kept that way. And it has been through these 10.5 months, various intense processes. This is the main energy core for the Devi. So today rasadanda will enter Devi and that will be really the moment of birth for her. So, maybe it's better you understand a bit of what we're trying to do here and what we have done here today. Is Devi Bhairavi has only 3.5 chakras. That's how she's made, intentionally so. Because she's only one half of Janalinga. She's half of him, and that's all she needs to operate. So she has only 3.5 chakras, the Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipuraka, and only one half of Anahata. She is very, very passionate. Anahata is symbolized with two intersecting triangles. She has only one triangle, the other is not there, intentionally so. So we don't want her to be sappy and loving with people. She is very compassionate, very powerful. She can be angry, she can be cruel sometimes, but she's tremendously powerful. Her power is what we are enamored with. Her compassion is what we are enamored with. So, that essential structure has been built into the danda, which is called as a rasadanda because it has liquid mercury inside. What we established yesterday is a drida danda because it's solidified mercury. So this is liquid mercury, it'll stay this way. So this is the rasadanda. These two will reverberate together and make things happen. You will see from now, by midnight today, it will be phenomenally different. I want you to be like a snake, put your whole body to the ground and feel it. That's the idea of prostration, I want you to know. The idea of prostration is, you're not sensitive enough to go into a temple and just receive him like this. So you put your body to the floor, naked if possible. If nakedness is not allowed, with minimum clothes, at least the upper body. You know, temples always demanded this, no, slowly it's going away, so that you get in touch with the earth and feel it. That you're able to imbibe it at least that way. You're supposed to be… your body is supposed to be wet. Women were supposed to wear wet clothes and go and lie down on the floor, temple floor, so that what you are incapable of receiving just like this, at least this way, like a snake you crawl and get the best that you can get out of the place. Is she half a woman? No, she's a complete woman. It is just that in every human being, one half of you is feminine, another half of you is masculine. It is overshadowed because of certain hormonal secretions. If you have male hormones going in you, if you have testosterone going in you, it sort of overshadows the feminine in you. If you have estrogen going in you, it overshadows the masculine in you. But there is nobody here who does not have both in equal quantity. Everybody has masculine and feminine in the same quantity. To what extent you have subdued one aspect, either due to hormonal secretions or just to social conditioning, Both ways you could have done it. So she's just woman. We've taken the man out of her. She's just a total woman, and that's dangerous. There is no masculine in here, she's just pure feminine. So, what we have done here is, it's a subtle process. Since yesterday, what we have constructed here is, this is more to make this space become like Devi before she comes alive. So we have built this 3.5 chakras here over this fire. I don't know if you're aware of this. Some people have taken pictures of homams with what is today being referred to as Kirlian photography, and there are also other types of photographies which are more sensitive than normal photography, that they have found images, they're doing a Durga homam and they found an image of Durga in a very sensitive way. Have you heard about this? Forms appeared because of using certain mantras and this. So yesterday what we have created is from here, just about here, these 3.5 chakras are fully established and alive right now. I can pass my hand through it, but it doesn't disturb that, it's still in existence. So, this is so in your body, so many things are happening in the body, you put food into it, this happens, that happens, so many things happens to the body, but still your energy body retains its integrity, its shape and form, otherwise your body cannot function and continue to function the way it is functioning right now. Every change would dislocate it and break it. So right now we have these 3.5 chakras established here. This will last probably for another 30-40 days and then slowly dissipate itself. But the same thing has been manifested in the Rasadanda, that's literally forever. If they keep up the necessary process in this temple, 10,000 years, it'll still be alive, they cannot remove it. Because this is not done through mantras, this is done through prana pratishtha. There is a certain investment of energy in the process, and that's why the duration and how long it takes to make this happen. So if they maintain certain basic processes, it doesn't matter how many thousand years, it will stay as if it was consecrated today. We happened to go to Uttarkashi. How many of you been to Uttarkashi? If you go to Vishwanath temple in Uttarkashi, this was consecrated about little over 2025 years ago. Now, what was this, about 5 years ago? Maybe it's about 2030 years now. And if you go there, if you have some sense of this space and how these things happen, you will find that it's just like it's brand new, it was like consecrated yesterday. Over 2000 years, it's like it was done yesterday morning, like that it is. Because one thing that happened to this particular temple is, it's in the mountains, invaders did not go there and disturb the process. The families which took the responsibility of maintaining the temple over 2000 years ago, the same family lineage still is in charge of the temple, and they've maintained that so well. If that is maintained in this temple, for which we are preparing the people, right now we've got a few people ready. These beings will be referred to as Bairaginis, they will be women. Some are in the process, they have been through a few months of sadhana and they're slowly coming up. If we maintain this tradition, the structure has been built in such a way that we built this in such a way that you don't see the girth of everything. All the stone columns and everything is like huge rocks, okay? There is no cement, there is no any material which could deteriorate in a certain period of time. Even if there are seismological movements in the area, because Coimbatore is a seismologically sensitive place, in spite of that, if some basic little maintenance here and there is taken care of, a few thousand years is not an issue for this temple, it will easily stay. Only things like wood and this and that has to be maintained, rest of it will stay on. So the temple structure is geared that way because the Devi is geared that way. But She's also geared in such a way that if she's not taken care of for a certain period of time, she will leave the space. She's made like that, she is very sensitive. If you don't take care of her, she will leave, and if she leaves, she will leave angry. And when she's angry, you better not be around. I'm telling you, really, she's like that. When she's angry, you better not be anywhere around. So, this is both an insurance and a threat for the next generation. This generation, they'll definitely take care, no question about that. For the next generation or the few generations later, if you don't take care of her and she will leave, I won't be around, you will be around. When she leaves, she's not good. So I hope such things don't happen. We have set up various backup systems and insurances so that, she will give them enough time. Beyond that, if they don't take care, she will leave. We will do this churning. I want you to now… there are many more things about this, but I won't go into those aspects. Essentially, when you do this movement, you are sort of reorganizing the body. You bring a new level of integrity into the system, and it also becomes a passageway for a new possibility, because if you do it with certain awareness, these two dimensions of moving clockwise and anti-clockwise, pradakshina and apradakshina, there is an inner space between the two. These two are the movement. These two are the process of life. But there's an inner space of stillness, which is what we are referring to as Shiva. These two are two different forms of the Devi, but there's an inner space of stillness which we are referring to as Shiva. So, I want you to do this with awareness. If you're seeking well-being, let these two things strengthen within you. If you're seeking liberation, let the inner space strengthen within you. Whatever is your choice, I'll leave it to you because you're in a Devi temple. Shiva, 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 Shivaya. 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 Devi is not a new idea. Let me briefly, very briefly touch upon the science of it, but I feel it's obscene to call it a science, because science is an obscene thing. Except for the benefits that it's given you in terms of gadgetry, technology, many other things, as an approach to life, it's quite an obscene thing. It's a very crude way of looking at life. If you give a flower to a scientist, he will take it off petal by petal and examine it. I want you to know, before all these laws were formed, they would… if I was a scientist, I would pick one of you and dissect you here just to examine what human body is about. That's what they've done in the past. They're still doing to the frogs and the monkeys and the birds and whatever else. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's an aesthetic way of knowing life, totally unaesthetic, a crude way of trying to know life, for you to understand the science of this. See, first of all, when you look at the human brain, your brain right now is in 4 layers in a certain way. One is the brain stem, which is essentially in charge of your respiratory action and your cardiac function. The way the brain stem functions with… for example, you're doing Shambhavi. With Shambhavi Mahamudra, within 24 hours, you can activate the brain stem in such a way that your respiratory action and your cardiac function, measurable change can be created within 24 hours of practice. Twice you did Shambhavi. Once you got initiated, in the evening you practiced. We can actually show a distinct change in the way the brain stem functions. This is the fundamental brain that you have. Over that, you have what is called as the R complex, which is the reptilian brain. Actually, every human being has a mini reptilian brain upon his brain stem. You have something like the brain of a crocodile. I hope you don't operate out of that. But you know, many times you do no, you… that's happening, isn't it? This reptilian brain is in charge of your emotions, your sense of, wanting to keep your boundaries, the moods, and very strong sense of territory, very, very strong sense of territory. Reptiles have a very strong sense of territory. So this reptilian brain is functioning within you, doing these things. If you have too much of these things, you're generally operating out of it, that's what it means. The next part is the limbic brain, which is more like the other mammals. This also is in charge of certain type of emotions, particularly filial, that is, a natural care for the offspring. The next is the cerebral cortex, which fortunately is more than 2/3 of your brain. It is this part of the brain which is capable of giving you a certain level of awareness, consciousness. I'm taking the simplest aspect of the practice that you are doing. You may be in various other levels of sadhana, but if you're doing the simple Shambhavi mudra, one thing is instantly the brain stem goes on to a very rejuvenated sense of action, and the R complex goes down, and the limbic brain also goes down. The sense of boundary is hugely reduced. The moment you start practicing, suddenly your feeling of this is mine, this is not yours, this is my family, this is your family, these things have come down, that's why you're sitting like this, together. Otherwise, whatever the rituals that were created, but that were practiced in ancient times, were essentially created to transcend the reptilian brain, to transcend that sense of boundary. But later on, the rituals themselves took on the form of exploitation and boundary. Only this community people can come to the ritual, nobody else can come. There was a time if a ritual is on, even if a lizard comes, he must be served. Do you know this? It doesn't matter, even if a beast, a crawling insect comes, you have to serve. So people who are in ritualistic way of life evolved this within themselves. There is substantial scientific evidence that just by chanting certain mantras, your cerebral cortex will be hugely activated and enhanced. There is substantial scientific and medical evidence today about this. We don't need these damn meters to tell us what's happening to us. What's happening to us is happening to us and we know it's happening to us. For thousands of years, we know this is what happens to us, but today, there must be meter reading, otherwise it's not approved. You could be lying, you could be making up things, possible. I'm not saying no. So, to transcend the reptilian and the limbic aspects of the brain, certain rituals, temple rituals were created where there's a certain sense of unity, not by understanding, simply by energy. Simply because you're functioning from a different part of your brain and suddenly everything about you is different. Between one person and the other, why one person is sweet, another person is nasty, why one person is happy, why another person miserable, all these things can be brought down to the chemistry of what's happening in your brain. So, changing these chemical patterns in the system, for this they evolved very elaborate ritualistic systems. Unfortunately, not maintaining the efficacy of what it is because they're subjective systems, they fell on bad times, people just became commercial and slowly comical. And the very beauty of this ritual became ugly, exploitative, discriminatory. Devi temple, there's absolutely no ritual in the Dhyanalinga temple, but there'll be all kinds of rituals in Devi temple. For every situation in your life, there will be a ritual. If a child is born, there's a ritual. Child has to eat his first mouthful of solid food, there's a ritual in this temple. So child's ears are being pierced, there's a ritual. Child is starting his education, Vidya Rambam, there's a ritual. Everything. From birth to death, in between every other life situation, there's a ritual to assist them, to ensure that every step that you take in your life is a possibility for you to get in touch with the divine. Your child has to eat, that should become a possibility to make contact with the divine. Your child is just writing R today, that should become a possibility for you and the child to make contact with the divine. Anything and everything that you do should become a possibility. So, there are a series of rituals. No ritual at all. Somebody utters a mantra, you will be stopped there, you know this? If you say Shiva inside the temple, they'll say, shh. But here it's not like that. So all those people who can't keep your mouth shut, but the Devi temple is only an appendage to the Dhyanalinga. When we consecrated Dhyanalinga, this corner, the southwestern corner becoming the Devi temple was always on my mind. I think I spoke a couple of times. But we did not have the means nor the time on our hands to do it at that time. But it was essentially planned this way. The Dhyanalinga is like a womb. It's the yoni of the Devi. When we say yoni, you must understand, the word yoni is describing the womb. In Sanskrit language and in most indigenous languages, there is no equivalent word for a vagina because nobody ever thought on those lines. They only thought of the womb as a whole, never thought of this part separately. Only when sexuality became a consciousness by itself in people's minds, only this outer part became important in somebody's mind. Otherwise, this whole thing was a womb. It was seen as a sacred space where all of us have to inhabit in the most crucial part of our making, the most crucial part of our making. When we have nothing in our hands, everything is in the hands of nature. At that time, that space protects us and makes us. So this was held as the most sacred space. And when you see the linga, this whole symbolism of linga and yoni, the Shakti and the Shiva principle, when you see this linga and the avadiyar or the Shakti part of it, you must understand this is the inside of the womb. This view is of the inside of the womb. This is not outside. Always, wherever the Shakti and Shiva are presented, Linga and Yoni are presented, it is the inside of the womb that you are seeing, not outside. That is why the female part is at the base and the Linga is here. So you are looking, when you enter the Dhyanalinga space, you are in the inside of the womb. And he is inside the womb, that's how it is shown. Now, what we are doing here right now is the Devi temple is coming here. So this was always a part of this triangle. It is just that we had not created an official space, but this was always the part of this triangle because this is the yoni. And right now, this is where Bhairavi is. This is a complete system now. In some way, not in terms of Dhyanalinga, he is complete by himself. But as a whole space, this has been a slightly incomplete space. So now, this process is complete. And now the first reverberation that happens out of this, which is the life-generating reverberation, it is just because two cells meet, life cannot happen. There is a reverberation, the first reverberation which is before the making of life. That reverberation is called spanda, and that is why the spanda hall is here. In this direction, the spanda hall and the Devi temple are exactly like this. At that time, I had not spoken about building this temple. I had to do lot of convincing to tell them, this is the angle I want the spanda hall in. They said, no, this will look better, that will look better. I said, no, this is the way we want it, because this is a whole system. Actually, in the right context, if we had done it in the right way, right is not the word, if we had time and means to do it the right… and the necessary social maturity, we should have started from this end. We should have first established Bhairavi, then gone for Dhyanalinga, then gone for Spanda Hall. That would have been the natural order of things. But we did this first, then this and then this. Dhyanalinga is going to be only one. We can We cannot recreate it. What has gone into it is too much to make it again. But I'm getting greedy and now I'm opening this to all of you. 5,000 of you are here, many more who are not here who'll anyway invariably will see this in many ways. Wherever anybody wants to build a Devi temple in any part of the world, if it's in your home, in your office, in your whatever, I will personally consecrate all of that. I've decided that. You want to build a major temple in your town? Fine. You want to build a little one? Fine. Whatever kind. If you want to establish Devi, we'll consecrate because see, the only thing that I'm really good at is just this. I can just make the air around me just crackle with energy. I can make a piece of stone into a god. This is the only thing I really know. I'm not a great teacher, you know. I do that because without doing that, without blabbering all the time, nobody… It doesn't work in the world. You have to blabber and blabber and blabber and blabber endlessly. Otherwise, my mission would be to consecrate the planet itself. If the necessary opportunity and the resource is there, that's what I would like to do. That on this planet, no being, man, woman, child, animal or insect, should not exist in a space which is not consecrated. Nobody deserves to live in barren places. Everybody should live in enriched spaces. And that's how it used to be in this country. Particularly in this part of the country, Agastya Muni came around and consecrated every home, every huttement, every village. And he did not spare a single human habitation south of Deccan. Every human habitation, he made sure a spiritual process, a live process was on. And every human habitation, he consecrated in some form. They say it took 4,000 years of work for him. We do not know whether it's 4,000 or 400 or 140, we do not know. But looking at the volume of work that he did, looking at the amount of travel that he did, obviously he lived a very extraordinary lifespan. So Agastya Muni went to the extent of saying that when the world is truly goes off the track because of development, because of knowledge, when knowledge becomes poison, when what should be good for you becomes negative for you, when such a situation comes, my work will rise and act. And that's bound to happen. So, consecration is a process, a life process. It's like this. If you transform mud into food, we call this agriculture. If you make food into flesh and bone, we call this digestion, integration. If you make flesh into mud, we call this cremation. Or if you can make this flesh, or even a stone, or even an empty space into a divine possibility, that is called consecration. Well, once again, because we need always backup, I don't need but the world needs, backup always from the modern science. Modern science is telling you everything is same energy manifesting itself in a million different ways. If that is so, what you call as the divine, what you call as the stone, what you call as a man, what you call as a woman, what you call as a beast, what you call as a demon, it's all the same energy functioning in different ways. So if it's the same energy functioning in different ways, it is the same electricity, which is light, which is sound, which could become so many other things depending upon the technology. So it is just a question of technology, that if you have the necessary technology, the simple space around you, you can make it into a divine exuberance. You can just take a piece of rock and make it into your god or a goddess. So this is the phenomena of consecration, which particularly in this culture, enormous amount of knowledge about this dimension of life was perpetuated, and this was held as the most important thing, because it doesn't matter what you're eating, how you are, how long you live, that at some point a need will come that you want to get in touch with the source of creation. And if that possibility is not created across the planet, if that possibility is not available to every human being who seeks, then that society has failed to provide true well-being for a human being. So it's based on this that every street had 3 temples, because you should not pass a few meters without having a consecrated space. It is with that awareness. These temples are not in competition with each other. Maybe now it is turning out like that, but that is not the reason why it is created. Largely we have destroyed this, but one place where you can still see this culture exuberantly alive is in places like Bhaktapur in Nepal. Every step you take, there's a temple. Every corner is a consecrated space. It doesn't matter, it's a public water tap, it's a consecrated space. These consecrated spaces were created everywhere. The idea is not to create one temple versus the other. The idea is that nobody should walk in a space which is not consecrated. Nobody should live in a space which is not consecrated. So always temple first, then houses. The whole of Tamil Nadu is built like this. Every significant town in Tamil Nadu, you go and see, first the temple, a grand temple, around that a little town. Because what kind of dwelling you live in is not important. Whether your house is 10,000 square feet or just 1,000 square feet is not going to make an ultimate difference in your life, but you are around a consecrated space. That is going to make a phenomenal difference in your life. With this understanding, they built human habitations like this. If there are 25 houses, there must be a temple. There is no way there can be 25 homes without a temple. Why can't we build for 1,000 population, one temple is enough? 10,000 population, one temple enough? That's not the point. Nobody should be within… outside the diameter or the radius of the temple's radiation. Whether you go there or not, whether you pray or not, whether you know the mantra or not, that's not the point. You must be in a consecrated space. You must be in the womb of the Devi every moment of your life. This was not just in India. All over Europe were full of goddess temples which were razed to ground during the Crusades. That's what you hear, millions of women burnt, because these were all people, priestesses by Raginis, taking care of those temples, who had special kinds of capabilities, which suddenly the established religion saw as a competition and they wanted to erase it. The whole of Arabia was full of goddess temples. Just talking about these goddesses today, you could get killed. So that is the level of efficiency with which the feminine was uprooted from this planet. That is the level of ferocity with which the feminine was uprooted from this planet. The only and the only and the only land still today has a goddess in every village is only that which is south of Deccan Plateau. Still survived. This is Agastya Muni's work. Shiva said, I am sending the best man I have to you, the best. And when Shiva says he is my best man, he is too good. He is too good. And the work that he did is too phenomenal. And whatever we're doing here, just a small extension to his work, very small extension to what he has done. So we want to open up this possibility because it's my dream, someday the world should, the humanity should live in consecrated spaces. Your home should be consecrated, your street should be consecrated, your office should be consecrated. Wherever you spend time, those spaces must be consecrated. There is a certain beauty. Your evolution need not stick to Darwinian scale. You can simply leapfrog and go if you live in a consecrated space. Once again, we can actually scientifically establish this in one day, just one day of initiation, like brahmacharis and others who are going into various other processes here. Apart from not just the basic processes, people who live in the ashram who are going through many other things. In a single day, we can show a phenomenal change happening in their brain function, in their physiological function, in their genetic material. If you stay close to me, you will even lose your father and mother. You lose your ancestors, their genes won't exist in you. This is the significance, that when somebody takes brahmacharya or sannyas, he will do the kriya that he is supposed to do after his parents are dead when they're alive, because he is even washing off the genetic material from his system. That's what it means, that his father has no influence anymore. Well, maybe my nose looks like my father's nose, but none of his stuff is in me. Boy, I cleaned it up. That's what a sannyasi is saying. When he leaves tarpana for a live father, which is an insult. The man is alive and you're doing death kriya for him. He is just saying, I'm not wishing death upon you, it is just that I have no father anymore because I washed off my genetics completely. So the very fundamental building blocks in the system can be changed very rapidly if one lives in consecrated space. That is the significance of the making of the temple. We will go into the first Paurnami Puja for the Devi. The first time such an event is happening here at the yoga center, never before this kind of rituals have ever been done here. We eliminated all ritual because we are high-tech, you know. If you want to do something, we don't say any mantra, nothing, and things happen for us. So, we had eliminated all ritual. But significance of ritual is, suppose we offer meditation to the world, however powerful meditation process may be, still the number of people who can actually go into it will still be a small percentage. Getting the whole world to meditate is right now not possible. Maybe sometime in future possible, but right now, even if there are enough teachers to do it, such a thing is not possible because many people need to be upgraded in the very way their bodies are, the very way their minds are, otherwise they cannot meditate. From their reptilian stuff To get them out of it, it'll take a certain amount of sadhana, which they may not be willing to do, or it may not be possible to deliver such sadhanas. Ritual is universally available to anybody. The whole population can make use of it. It is just that even a person who is absolutely ignorant can perform the ritual. That's the beauty of a ritual. He just has to maintain the system. He need not know anything. He need not be in any state of consciousness. If you want to initiate somebody into meditation, you have to be in a certain way. To prepare such people in great numbers is a very big challenge, not an easy challenge. But the power of ritual and the significance of ritual is, if people are dedicated and disciplined, you can teach him a ritual. If he's not conceited, if he's not devious, you can teach him a ritual. That's all it takes. Any sensible human being with normal intelligence and he's sincere about what he's doing, that's all it takes. You do this, you can make it available to people. So that is the significance of ritual. So ritual is not a backward step. A ritual is a more mass-oriented possibility. It is a larger possibility in terms of reaching humanity. It is little low-tech compared to meditativeness. But most people still in India use bicycles. They're not flying around in jet craft. Slowly happening, but still, most people on the planet still use low technology of walking, isn't it? Everybody is still walking, it doesn't matter how much technology. So, this is mass application, anybody can experience it. Anybody can deliver it, that's the most beautiful thing. If they are sincere and straight about what they're doing, anybody can deliver it. They need not know any great consciousness, they need not be knowledgeable, they need not be proficient in anything, they just have to be disciplined and sincere, which is possible. The next phase of what we're doing here is, essentially the consecration is complete. Now we are going to do a little bit of engineering, can't call it a feat, but it's a little bit. So this is… we want to do this in little bit of style. It's a 16-ton triangular stone. We want to bring it and without any adjustment, readjustment, we just want to place it in style in front of you. In case we do little adjustment, don't look at it, okay? You shouldn't see all those things, just see what happens well. Because now we are Devi people, we're not correct, we're appropriate.